Can't you see? Everyone! They're here already! You're next!
Let's go!
Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born!
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
So our guest on the show today is adult entertainment legend Mary Carey, and she's graciously decided to take part in our Punk Rock Politics segment. And if you're new to the show, or if you need a refresher, Punk Rock Politics is this. We're coming up on an election. We're coming up on a doozy of an election. We're coming up on something that a lot of people have said, well, this really makes us stop and think. How did we get to this point? At what stage in the game did our elections become more like the Jerry Springer Show than the Jerry Springer Show? And as a result, I find us to be at our most divided point in American history. I've talked to my parents. I've talked to people that have been around a lot longer than me. And I know a lot of other folks that have talked to people that have been around, historically speaking, at different times and said, hey, do you ever remember it being like it is right now? Do you ever remember things being like this? And the answer is no, an emphatic no. They do not. We are living in some strange times. So the point of Punk Rock Politics, I suppose, really is to get as many different people on this show with as many different political viewpoints. And you don't have to agree with them. You don't have to like what they say. But I think it's incredibly valuable to find out what people believe and why they believe it. If there's one skill that my parents instilled in me, one thing that they insisted I was able to do that I think has helped me navigate my way through life, it's the insistence that you are able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and understand their perspective, whether you agree with it or not. It'll help you, and it'll help them, and it will help all of us. But it's a big deal today because as much as we talk about politics on the show, this is the first time that we've ever had a guest that's run for elected office. Mary Carey, how is the world of politics? Is that still something you're doing?
Yes.
You know what? I would love to run for office again. It's just so much harder in a real election because in the recall election, you only needed 65 signatures to get on the ballot. In a real election, I think it's 800,000 signatures to get on the ballot. So it's much harder. And that's why, you usually have to have a lot of money to run for office because you can hire a signature collecting service and it's like a couple dollars a signature. But I would love to run for office again. I don't know. I need to win the lottery first.
For those that don't know, during the 2003 California recall election, she ran as an independent candidate, and in a field of 135 candidates while running for governor of California, placed 10th, which really, when you think about it, not bad. Very, 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 very impressive. Now, there was a certain jocular quality to it. I remember one of your platforms was making lap dances tax deductible.
Yes.
There was the Porn for Pistols exchange program, like that one. But in 2005, you took a run at being lieutenant governor of California. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and as a refresher course to people that know, that seemed like a little less jokey when you went and did that.
It was funny. I really wanted to run for office again. I couldn't get the signatures though. But I think it was when the first time I ran, it kind of started out obviously as a joke. The porn company I was with had the idea. They're like, let's just, have you run for governor for publicity. And then obviously I got in the ballot and then I started going on a bunch of news shows and I kind of did start taking it serious. Like I do believe I could have done just as good as Arnold, if not better, Yeah. I really think so.
Easy.
Well, did you the one thing that I think, one of the reasons that I like having entertainers on the show and talking about politics is because if you're a person in a band, you got to kind of travel around. You got to see not only the country but see the world. And we in America, travel is a luxury. Getting out and seeing the world is a luxury. And if it's not a luxury if it's not a financial luxury to be like, all right, Rockefeller, where are we going? Who's paying for the plane tickets? It's a luxury of time. Everybody in this country I know is working hard. Everybody grinds away every single day to give the best that they can to the people that matter the most. And at the end of it, it doesn't leave a lot of time for heading off around the world or around the country and seeing how other people live and getting a bit of perspective that way. But you you tour around the country on the regular, feature dancing, and you know what? I would imagine that you get a chance to talk to a lot of people and have more of a sense of what people are thinking and more of an opportunity to kind of like take the temperature of what's going on in different parts of the country and the world.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love traveling, and I love seeing all the different, just seeing people from just all over the country. Like, and traveling is one of my favorite things to do. I'm pretty obsessed with the flying. American Airlines. I'm almost to 2 million miles. And yeah, sorry. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I was looking at my phone and I was not paying attention. I'm gonna put my phone away. I was zoned out.
We're catching Mary.
I'm a bad radio guest.
It happens to me.
We're catching Mary after a rough night, and we'll talk
very
a little
rough,
bit about
very
that
rough,
next.
yes.
Thank you for joining us.
It's okay to disagree. It's not okay to be understimulated.
Well, I was just thinking that...
This is KPRC 950.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So as much as we've talked about politics on this show in the past, today is the first time we've had somebody on the show that has run for elected office. Yeah. Adult entertainment legend Mary Carey is our guest today, who has taken a run at being governor and lieutenant governor of California on a couple of occasions. When you got out on the campaign trail, did you get a chance to sort of like kiss the babies and press the flesh and really kind of get a sense of what people were looking for from their politicians? Because you're doing these things, and like I said, there was a jokey quality to it, but you kind of started to understand a little bit more about what the role involved as you did it, right? Yeah,
totally. It definitely taught me. I didn't know anything about politics until I started running for governor, and I quickly learned a lot about it. And it was just really interesting. I mean, I feel like everyone should run for governor at some point in their life. It was just a really fun process. I still think it's crazy that over 11,000 people actually went and voted for me. Mm-hmm. That was just pretty crazy. Just the whole, it was the first time I voted too, is when I voted for myself. So that was that was actually really interesting too, just getting to go into the, I don't know what the place is called where
polling station.
The polling station, yes. And it was just really strange to go in there and vote for myself.
So when you got a chance to talk to people, like, did you get a sense of what they feel their government is or is not doing for them, or what they want from people? I mean, I know, here's the weird thing, because, part of it was obviously kind of a goof, but it doesn't matter. You put somebody that's running for office in front of some folks, and they're going to tell you what they want from their elected official. Did people come up to you and be like, you got to do something about X or Y or Z? Did people come to you with their wants and needs?
You know what? No, actually, because I guess people didn't take me very serious. No one really did. And, a lot of the people I met were like porn fans and stuff too. I love my appearances and everything. So no one really told me anything serious.
What about you? Like, if the first time you voted was for yourself. Yeah. Have you voted since? So is this something you take part in?
Yes. It's so funny because my grandparents were Democrats when I was growing up, and I would say that I'm fiscally conservative, socially liberal. So I always had. Let's see. I voted. The next time I voted for John Kerry, and then I voted for Obama, and then I voted for Mitt Romney. And this time I don't know who I'm going to vote for. It's a very tough decision, I mean, it's crazy. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie Idiocracy, but I feel like
everyone, including Mike Judge, that I know that has seen that movie is like, oh my gosh, like he's Nostradamus, like he predicted this with this movie all those years ago, and this has become our reality.
It's exactly what it is, and it's very scary to think. I mean, I don't know. It's just very scary to think that either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton is going to be president. I personally like Marco Rubio a lot. I was a big Marco Rubio.
I liked Marco Rubio too, and I feel like he got shut down for a couple different reasons, but his biggest mistake was trying to play Trump's game. You know, like people point out that sort of like the Trump's hand size. You know, like this is where we're at in American political history. The hand size in relation to what you're packing south of the equator has become a major talking point at debates. And it was Marco Rubio that started that because he was hanging on by a thread, and he was like, all right, if I'm gonna stay alive in this competition, I gotta out Trump. And so he made reference to the size of Donald Trump's hands. And I think that was where it all went badly south for him because, I liked him a lot, and I found that he was removed from all that. But once you get into Trump's arena and start playing Trump's game, you're not going to beat Trump at it. You're just not. I liked him. That's interesting. I liked him too.
I think that had Donald Trump not gone into the election, I actually think it would have maybe been a Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio. I mean, that's who I thought was gonna. Your
home state of Florida, well represented.
Yeah, exactly. And I really think that because Trump came in, it just kind of shook everything up. Obviously, with what would have maybe happened. But because I actually like Jeb Bush, I had gone to in 2005. I went to the NRCC dinner with President Bush, and that's what actually made me start liking the Bushes because it was so fun being there. I had like a Secret Service person that was instructed to follow me around because they were afraid I was going to streak at the dinner, but it just started making me I just started liking the Bushes. And I think that Jeb Bush would have actually been good too.
I spent a good portion of my life and still do in Houston, Texas, where the Bushes are from. And what's interesting is a lot of people have a lot of unkind things to say about George Bush. And let's be real here. There's certain things that you can't turn your back on. The idea of him going on the air saying we're going to use strategery and things of that nature, like the made up words, the sort of like the things that he did that made people go, yeah, this guy's in charge. That's not okay. But what's interesting is, and I'm very familiar with it because you're in radio, you have some guests sometimes that they can be the most charming, erudite folks on the face of the planet. Then you put them in front of a microphone or a camera, and it just all goes badly south. And to those people that knew him and kind of grew up around George W. Bush in Houston, Texas, lots of people I knew that said, man, you could go have dinner with that guy, or you could be at a dinner with him, and he is the smartest guy in the room, the most charming guy in the room, the easiest guy in the room to like. And then you put him in front of a camera, and it kind of doesn't work, which is kind of crazy to me. I mean, obviously he was elected and he was president, but it just says to me, wow, we live in a day and age where you got to be an actor to be a politician. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's true. It's very
but
true.
It bodes well for your career, Mary.
It does.
Sunshine coming my way. Nothing's gonna change how I feel today. Nothing's gonna get in the way of my perfect day. Perfect day. Sunshine coming my way. Nothing's gonna change how I feel today. Nothing's gonna get in the way of my perfect day. Perfect day. Woke up about 10 with puppies in my face, saying Dad gotta join the human race. Time for a yawn and a stretch and a walk. You see, Rio Radio 104.1. Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radio Land. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, come on.
I kind of have to laugh only because what's the new intern's name, Funkhauser?
Vigard from Norway.
Vigard?
Oh, yeah.
He's so cute.
Well, that's the thing. We've got a new, how did Vigard from Norway wind up interning in this building?
He asked. He's in a class. He's in school for radio. He's in radio school, and he said, "Hey, would it be?" And it sucks because he doesn't even have an accent. He's from Norway. He speaks better English than I do.
I went in school, when I went to school in England, half the kids I went to school with were American, the other half were international. There were tons from Norway and Sweden, and all of them spoke better English than all of us with barely any accent. It was very impressive. You go around the world and you realize that we're the only, England and America, we just speak English because everybody else has learned our stuff, and it's embarrassing how well other people do our things. But so he doesn't even have an accent. But how did he get here from Norway?
I don't know. We'll have to ask him on the air. He'll be here on Wednesdays until Christmas.
I just think, I don't know how long he's been in Hollywood, but he walked in to ask what his first interning task would be, and there's Mary Carey. She's like, "You're cute. You single?" I was just like,
Yeah.
Small town Norwegian kid comes to Hollywood, gets asked out by adult entertainment legend.
He was very tall.
I know.
He's very tall?
I'm 5'9", so.
He's like 6'4" or something, tall, skinny.
Let's get him. Where is he? Can we
He's
bring him
gone.
back here?
He ran away.
You want to hear something jacked up? When I went to school with all these Scandinavian kids, the Swedish and the Norwegian kids they were all extremely tall, extremely blonde, usually very, very good looking, and very, very smart. And the reason for that being, until I think it was 1983, the practice of eugenics, weeding out and killing off genetically infirm specimens was legal there. It was an actual thing. So you can't argue with the results because they're all smart, they're all charming, they're all awesome. But there's a reason why they're all tall, blonde, good looking, and smarter than all of us, and it's a bit of a disturbing one. But it bodes well for Vigard and Mary moving forward.
I know. I really am hoping. Maybe I'll come back here on Wednesday. It's like I have sex with him.
Election part 2.
Election part, yeah. Hey, Vigard, guess what you've been elected to do?
You can come be my intern. You can just live with me.
Do you have interns? We're catching Mary, by the way, on a. We're catching. Do you have all your stuff that you do? Where can people follow you on Twitter and Instagram?
Let's see. My Twitter is Real Mary Carey, and Instagram is Mary Carey. Yep.
And do you do that all yourself? Do you have people?
I do. I do it all
you?
myself. I'm pretty obsessed with it. Well, now I'm not as obsessed with Twitter. Although I'll get I'll go through periods where I'm bored, and then I'll just tell people ask me questions on Twitter. But Instagram, I love Instagram now. I was really late to Instagram too. For 2 years, my friends kept telling me to get on Instagram, and I just didn't do it. And then now I did it, and I love it.
What you described earlier, being sort of fiscally conservative and socially liberal, a lot of people would say, "Hey, that's a textbook definition of a libertarian." And I suppose that's what I am too. But the moment you say you're a libertarian, at least where I was living in Texas, people go, "Hey, you want to come over, smoke pot, and shoot AR-15s?" And that's not how I choose to spend my afternoon. And I believe that if you define somebody, you negate them. So I kind of don't slap that label on it. But one of the, libertarian tenets is small government and the ability to build your own business. You bailed on being in movies, but you still feature dance, and you're in this digital space now. How do you think all that's changed the adult entertainment industry, with webcams and internet connections and things of that nature?
It's definitely just taken a lot of money out of the industry. But I guess that's true of music and pretty much all entertainment industries.
Sure,
I feel like it's affected by the internet. But I think it's also fans can have a greater access to. You know what I mean?
Sure,
they can write you and talk to you and. Normally they wouldn't have had that access that they have now to follow their adult film stars, personal lives and everything. But and I just think it's just less money for the girls. I think it's harder to build a name for yourself. When I got into porn, you wanted to be a contract girl, and so all the different contract girls, that was then you want to be in the box covers of the porns, and the contract girls made more money feature dancing and everything. And these days, I feel like if a girl gets into porn, it's really hard for them to probably build a name for themselves.
Well, it's interesting. It's a bit of a double-edged sword because, whenever I've talked to people that have worked in adult entertainment, I've been like, radio is very similar. Radio is really, really similar. The amount of time, from my understanding of it is, when you would make movies, that part didn't pay too terribly well, but then when you went out on the road to feature dance, you made a lot more money if you had been in movies. Is that a fair approximation?
Yes, that's exactly, because I started as a feature, and then I found out that I would make more money if I did porn, and so then I did porn because I wanted to make more money feature dancing.
Right.
And and feature dancing, these days, I don't even know if a girl, I don't even know any of the new girls in porn. I was like, I wonder who's the last big name that you could say. I guess Alexis Texas, but she's still even been around a long time. I don't know. It's
very similar to radio because the time that I spend in front of the microphone, You know, like, and you know, pulling back the radio curtains and allowing a bit of transparency for people listening. The time I spend in front of a microphone, I don't get paid too terribly well for, but I do get paid to show up at a snowboarding competition for 2 hours or stand outside of a Verizon as kids give out koozies. Like that pays an amount of money that doesn't make any sense, but it also pays my mortgage because the rest of the stuff doesn't pay, like I said, too terribly well. But I find that what's interesting now with do you do that whole sort of like webcamming thing? Like I follow a lot of porn folks on Twitter for a couple of reasons. One, boobs. Two, every single time there's a new technology, the folks in the adult entertainment industry will be the very first to monetize it. It goes back to video cassettes, and it's true now. Snapchat, folks in adult entertainment were the first to figure out how to monetize it. Webcams, first to figure out how to monetize it. And so on the one hand, it seems much tougher, but on the other hand, the playing field is a lot more level to where if you really apply yourself on Twitter and Instagram, you can drive traffic to your webcam shows. Do you do any of that stuff?
You know what? I've just kind of gotten into the webcamming. It's funny because I don't know why I didn't want to do it for so long. And I think it's because I had started as a webcam model when I was in Florida. I'd worked for a website called The Girls House, and it was like, it was supposed to be like we lived in this house with cameras on us.
I remember hearing about that.
So yeah, I worked there when I was really young, and then, which is funny because webcamming was kind of just starting out back then. That was like in 2000. But so now I just started making myself go on Streamate, and I actually do enjoy it. And I think it's the only way people pay for porn is to be able to interact live with a girl. Which is I do Streamate now.
See, that makes sense. And I mean, again, same for every business there is. And I think I could understand you having a little bit of reticence to do it before, because it seems, if you're used to a big production, lots of cameras, lighting rig, makeup artists, and all this sort of stuff, getting in front of a webcam probably seems like, is this a step back? Is this, But
that's exactly how I felt.
but I get that. But, we live in a day and age where I honestly feel as though this is the most significant thing to happen to the world of free trade and economics. Like the phenomenon of, and it's true for webcamming. It's true for Uber and Lyft and ride-sharing services like that. It's true for services like Airbnb. Where, look, you get blown out of your job. You're just a working stiff. Well, you have a car. You can go work for Uber. That's a thing. You have a room in your house. You could rent that out through Airbnb. What's I need a check engine light went on the other day, and I was like, what's it called? MyMechanic.com, where somebody just comes to your house or your office. I didn't know about that. Yeah. It's just
not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor, but they can do brake jobs, and they can change your oil, and they can bring out one of those things that runs diagnostics when your check engine light goes on. I was like, well, that seems like a lot easier and a lot less painless than going to a garage. So I understand why you might feel like it's a step back, but it really is kind of a massive leap into the future.
It is, and that's the thing. And one of the reasons I like to do it too is because I did build up the name Mary Carey, so I felt like it was kind of stupid of me not to do it because it's a way to make money off of the name I created. So, yeah, I like it. I think I'm going to cam today. Actually, no, I'm not going to cam today. I'll cam tomorrow. Today might be a sober day. I need to recuperate today.
Oh, really? So, wait, hold on. You had kind of a rough one yesterday?
Yeah, and then that's my problem with drinking these days is for some reason, if I drink, then it leads to like a couple of days of drinking. And then it leads to like depression. I never used to be depressed after drinking, but now that's what happens to me. And it's like, I know I just, like for me today, I'm like, okay, I just got to get through today and then tomorrow I'll be back to normal again. But yeah, no, I went to my neighbor's and he wasn't going to drink. And then I was like, oh, let's just have a drink. And the next thing I know, we drank from like 3 to 6:30. We both woke up at like 3 a.m. and yeah. And
what does your neighbor do?
He is a stand-in, and he's an actor. Yeah.
I just think it would be hilarious if he had like a job where at the water cooler, like, what'd you do yesterday? Day drank with Mary Carey until 3 a.m. Feeling a little rough now today. That'd be But no, that's interesting. So, all right, I don't drink. Because I don't like it. You drink but feel like you shouldn't. Funkhauser, you're probably the closest to normal out of all of us when it comes to imbibing alcohol. You drink casually, right?
Sure, casually, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't think I've ever heard you. We've been working together for a few years.
I like flavored water.
I don't think I've ever heard you come in and be like, I feel like crap. I really tied one on last night. Never again. Like, I've never heard a hangover story, or I've never heard a story of anything that you've done when you got drunk.
Yeah,
like,
but you don't see me, so you don't get the luxury of saying, "Holy crap, what happened to you?" So most of the time I can be like, everything's peachy because nobody can see me in here, but I'm dead. Sometimes.
But, like, I mean, Mary and I were talking about this off the air. Like, I don't drink. I'm not interested in drinking for the reason that you outlined, Mary. Like, I feel really rough after drinking. When I did used to drink, and not rough like, I have a headache, but like depressed, really, really depressed. Like, and this is going back to when I was like 18 and still drank when I was living in England.
Reminds me of New England, my vacation to Providence, where everyone's sad and lonely. And probably
whenever we talk about being sad, Funkhauser does Morrissey impersonations. Just FYI. But yeah, no, like, I just would wind up feeling really, really awful about myself and the world and all of this stuff. It's
exactly
like
how I feel.
So I get jealous of people like Funkhauser, who, like, if you're sober, like, it's hard. It's hard work being sober because you gotta go places and do stuff. Like, what do you want to do today? Let's go on a walk. Let's go to the pool. Let's watch the baseball game.
Yeah.
You got to do a thing. And if you do drink, well, let's have a couple of drinks. All you got to do is crack one open, and you've got your activity for the afternoon. It's a weird thing to do. You were famously not sober for a while. You're part of that whole celebrity rehab thing. How did that affect you moving forward? Did you wind up thinking that was a good idea?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was great. You know, I mean, I knew I needed like some sort of help when that happened, when I got the show, and at the time I was having a problem with Xanax. I didn't think I was an alcoholic though. I've gone back and forth with the debate in my head of an alcoholic, although I realize now I really am an alcoholic.
What's the old expression? It's like alcoholism is defined by the consequence as opposed to the doing it or the amount that you drink or all the above. Like, if you have negative consequences in your life from alcohol and you're still drinking, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like what they say is insanity. You know, you're expecting a different outcome, and like that's the problem. And I do that all the time. I'm always like, okay, I'm going to drink like a normal person today, and it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. And and I do bad things, and I get people mad at me.
Didn't you say after your episode yesterday, you were your boyfriend or whoever it was blocked you on Instagram or Twitter or something?
He actually did not block me on Instagram or Facebook because I checked this morning. I was like, but yeah, no, he sent me a text saying that we're taking a break. I need to go back to rehab and everything. We'll see. I don't know. I'm hoping he'll call me when he wakes up today. I don't know.
Still better story than most politicians.
We'll do more of this when we get back. Follow Mary Carey on Twitter at Real Mary Carey and join in the conversation. And Instagram, Mary Carey.
Tonight it's all good in the 713. Here I am with the H-Town Jam. Real Radio 104.1.
Now, more AD on the radio.
So if you're just joining us, our guest on the show is adult entertainment legend and politician Mary Carey, who's taken a couple different stabs at being governor and lieutenant governor of California back in 2003. During the recall election, she actually came in 10th out of a field of 135 potential candidates. So this is, like I said, we talk a lot of politics on the show. This is the first time we've had an actual politician on with us. Let me ask you this. With the when you're talking about who you voted for, I noticed that there was a jump from party to party when you voted for Obama one year and then Romney the next term. What made you go sour on Obama and vote for Romney, if you don't mind my asking?
I just felt like the country needed help financially, and I just thought that Obama was not doing a good job. And I just think that we needed a Republican in office. I still think that, actually. I mean, sadly, I don't know if Trump's going to be the answer to that, but I mean, it'd be really nice if we had like a real Republican in office.
You know, I know a lot of people that are, I think Louis C.K. and then a lot of people that aren't sort of, notorious and famous said, I'm a liberal, I'm a Democrat, but I think it would be great if we had a Republican just because we had 8 years of a Democrat and this world needs balance. We can't have, everybody getting their, we can't have one side of the fence just getting their way all the time. We need, things need to be evened up. And I think Louis C.K. said, I just don't think Trump's the guy for that. But, that's interesting that you said that. I remember at the time, Kid Rock endorsed Obama the first time out, and then it was I didn't like the job he did for the country, so he endorsed Romney the next time out, and it was an interesting period in our political history where Kid Rock was like, "Hey, Obama's cool. I just didn't like his what he did, and if you vote for him again, I don't have a problem with you. I'm just throwing in behind Romney." And it's just we're so divided now. We're so divided now that it's crazy that the voice of reason comes from Mr. I am the bull god, ba with the ba, the stone cold pimp of the nation, Kid Rock, and Mary Carey. It's just have you ever registered as anything?
I am registered as declined to state, which is, I guess, independent.
So if you're registered as declined to state, clear this up for me. Can you take part in the primaries? Because that was the whole thing, and this is I think one of the problems. To take part in the primaries, I think you have to be registered Republican or Democrat. You can't be registered declined, and don't you think this kind of jacked up? That they close it down unless you're willing to stand up and be counted and be a joiner.
Yeah, I do think that's wrong. Actually, I definitely do think that's wrong, and I don't know. I wonder how I can change that. How can I change that?
Well, you could run for office again, and that could be your platform. I think that actually would be a legitimate thing because, here we are at this. We're this country that supposedly celebrates individual liberty and your right to choose and your right to be yourself and pursue happiness and all that sort of stuff. Yet, the only way you get to participate in an integral part of our political process is if you flush your own identity down the toilet and go, whatever you guys say, I'm signing up for that. It's bananas.
I agree. I concur. That just reminded me. Yesterday, sorry, I saw something funny from yesterday. My neighbor and I were trying to use big words, and I just thought of that right now. When I was keeping score, I think I won.
What was what do you suppose the biggest word you used was?
Let's see. I started by saying it behooves me.
That's a good one.
And then I used the word facetious.
That's another good one.
Mm-hmm. And then I just knew something, so I gave myself a point because I was just I had a smart thought. I don't remember what the smart thought was, but I remember I said something. I'm like, this counts because it's really smart. I don't remember.
So,
sorry, random.
Just to back up a little bit, I'm not trying to be facetious. It would behoove us to get a little bit deeper into your history. When you said that you needed help with addiction to Xanax, and you're not sure about the alcohol stuff, were you prescribed Xanax? Is that how you ended up on it?
No. My best friend at the time, this girl Tawny Roberts, she was a Vivid girl at the time. We always slept over each other's houses, and I was taking Tylenol PM to sleep at night, and she was like, please, will you just take this Xanax? I need you to sleep more, because she was always wanting to sleep in. And so she gave me Xanax, and then I loved it. I was like, this is the best sleep ever. And then so I used to buy them it was weird. A lot of porn stars take Xanax. I don't know why. It's definitely I would say the most common thing amongst adult film stars is Xanax. And
do you think, I mean, because here's the thing. I know a lot of people that take Xanax and bing, bang, boom, you go in, you say, I get nervous during the day, and you can get a prescription for Xanax. Do you think most of it's prescribed? Do you think they buy it illegally, or what is it, crooked doctors, or do they just need it?
I think a lot of porn stars buy it illegally. But I mean, I eventually got a prescription. My mom's neurosurgeon. My mom had a bad accident, and I asked the neurosurgeon to give me Xanax and Valium. So then he gave me a prescription, And then Dr. Drew got me off of it. But then about 2 years ago, I got a prescription again because I need to get off Seroquel, which Seroquel is what Dr. Drew put me on. And then when I went to Promises this last March, they got me off Xanax again. But it's weird because like now I'm just on a bunch of other medications to sleep at night. So, you know, now they have me on like Trazodone and Gabapentin and Remeron. I wish I could sleep without pills.
All of these words sound like action heroes.
Remeron, Trazodone. It's true. They do.
They sound like Transformers villains to me.
Gabapentin.
But I mean, so that's because Xanax is supposed to be sort of like a quick fix. You have like a moment of anxiety. You take a Xanax or half a Xanax. Like I know a lot of people that get nervous flying, so they get a prescription for Xanax so they can fly. But then stuff like Seroquel, things like that, like what are they? SSRI inhibitors, where that's supposed to be like an ongoing thing that is in your system. And so Dr. Drew put you on Seroquel to help you get off Xanax, and then Seroquel became not a good idea, so you had to kick that and get on the Xanax again to deal with the ensuing anxiety.
Yes. It's just to sleep at night. I can't sleep at night. And Seroquel is just having a lot of negative effects. You know, it was slowing down my thyroid, and it just, I don't know, I just didn't like it.
What happens? Sorry, not smart. What happens when your thyroid slows down?
You start gaining weight.
Oh.
The Seroquel actually slows the thyroid down. I couldn't figure out why my thyroid was coming back like slow, and then I started researching Seroquel, and then I was like, oh my God, I got to get off this. But now I have the Remeron I'm on. It also slows your metabolism down. So now I'm trying to get off the Remeron.
Remeron definitely sounds like another Transformers villain. More with Mary Carey.
We loved Remeron at Promises. People were just constantly Remeron.
Every day you're going and working, running that rap.
Real radio. Real radio. 104.1.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The Dumbing Up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
Our guest on the show today, adult entertainment legend Mary Carey. Follow her on Twitter at Real Mary Carey and on Instagram at Mary Carey. We were talking a little bit off the air about the difficulties of getting and maintaining a marriage. And comedian Nick Griffin, I think, might have hit the nail on the head with the reasons as to why it's difficult to make a marriage work.
Marriage is hard, man. Hard. No one tells you. Marriage is so hard, Einstein got divorced. Did you people know that? I didn't. Albert Einstein, arguably the most intelligent man who ever lived, got divorced. They should tell you that before you get married. It shouldn't be, do you love her? Do you want to spend the rest of your life with her? It should be, do you think you're smarter than Einstein? You've got a GED, jackass. Never said the right thing when I was married, ever, you know. Remember one time my wife said to me, my grandfather used to tell my grandmother she was the most beautiful woman in the whole world every day of their marriage. Well, yeah, back then they didn't have cable. He didn't know. Marriage is hard. Love is hard. Saying I love you, very difficult, especially for the man, especially that first time, that first I love you. It's because we know you ladies are waiting for it. And when you women hear that first I love you, something comes over you. Your eyes get all wide. You get that diabolical grin on your face. You can almost feel the women saying, excellent. It's all falling into place.
So, question for you, Mary.
Yes.
You've said that you're socially liberal, fiscally conservative. A lot of people would say that's a libertarian way to be. The concept of marriage. I know a lot of libertarians that say government has no place in my relationships. My marriage is not defined by a piece of my love. My relationship is not defined by a piece of paper that is issued by the government. Marriage is meaningless. Like, I don't need the government to tell me what I'm doing with my life. I don't need you to validate my relationship with a piece of paper. Thoughts?
You know what? I love being married. I like being in relationships. You know, I mean, I totally right now want to get married to my rehab boyfriend. So yeah, I do believe in marriage, and I think it's amazing.
You think it should be a state thing or a government thing?
Like, do you feel like you need the piece of paper to define it?
No, I guess you don't need the piece of paper to define it, but I don't know. I just like it.
Taxes are better.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just like it. I like being married, and I like marriage, and I want to get married again. Although I don't think I'm divorced yet.
See, if the government wasn't interfering, you'd be free and clear at this stage in the game.
Yeah.
What if he's Norwegian?
What if he's What if he's a 23-year-old Norwegian intern?
I'll do it. Let's do it.
22.
Maybe he'll marry
22?
me for citizenship.
Mm-hmm. He might. He has a lot to think about today.
Yeah. This is his first day?
Yeah. Orientation.
We gotta go find him.
Oh my gosh.
He's gone
That's
now.
awesome. That's very, very cool. So you want to get married again? You like being married? You like the
Yes.
whole... So was it the sense of it being official?
Yeah,
Like,
I just like it. It's just, I don't know. I just like it. Although when I was married, I hated it. And all I wanted to do was get divorced.
How far into the marriage did that sentiment start?
Pretty early. We got married after knowing each other only 7 weeks in Las Vegas. So yeah, it wasn't a good decision. I just wanted to get married. So I just did it, you know? I feel like I was like asking everyone I dated for like a couple of years to get married. And then finally I found someone who did it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You wanted to be Mrs.
I know. Now I want to get married again.
Huh.
Because I don't like being alone. I don't like being alone. I have a big fear of being alone.
Do you think that perhaps your marriage would work? Well, I don't know. It's a tough one. I was going to ask if you think your marriage would have worked better if you were sort of like successfully independent, meaning you were cool being alone. You were cool enough within yourself to be alone. Do you think do you feel as though your marriage might have worked better?
Yes, totally. And I think part of me wants to go back to rehab right now to try to tackle that because I feel like I need to get better at being alone and doing things on my own. I'm really bad at it.
That's why I got a dog.
Do you feel like you know yourself pretty well, like your wants, needs, or are you still kind of peeling back layers all the time and making new discoveries?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think I know a lot about myself, but yeah, I don't know. I just don't know why I'm not good at being alone. I just have really weird fears of like, oh my God, I'm going to die alone. And like, no one's going to, I want to have kids. And how am I going to have kids? And
well, the kids thing I totally understand because that is, there's the old biological clock ticking, and if you have kids, that requires another person. Do you think you want to have kids because you don't want to be alone in your old age, or do you have like a maternal instinct?
I think a little bit of both, actually. I think, yeah, no, I think because I don't want to be alone. I also just like kids, but yeah, and I want someone to visit me when I'm older.
Because there's a school of thought when it comes to marriage and relationships and all this sort of stuff is that like figuring out things like, hey, why do I not do well alone? What are my wants and my needs and all this sort of stuff? Like there's a lot of people who would say it's kind of almost not fair to get into a serious relationship with someone else if you don't know your own self well enough to give them the roadmap. You know, otherwise it's going to be like, I'm not feeling so great. You figure it out. I think guys and girls do that all the time. You look for somebody to repair something in you. Like there's this idea that by meeting someone else, it's going to fix one or all of the things that ail you.
Yeah. For sure.
You guys need a shovel to get out of how deep we went here? You want me to throw a ladder down for you?
It's a Monday. Let's just grab this week by its short end or curlies and figure it out. Funkhauser, how much time do we have left?
We got like 7-ish.
We got 7 minutes because this is very, very interesting. This is so. All right,
final lap.
I'm trying to figure out if we want to go a little bit deeper down the a little bit deeper down this wormhole that we've discovered, or if we want to do some news. Let me ask you this. Have you always not wanted to be alone?
Yes, I've always had a problem with it. I think it's because I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandfather died when I was 16. And that's when I started and then all of a sudden I always had to have boyfriends, and I don't know, I just had a fear of people dying, and I don't know. And I pretty much I've always been in relationships. I got married when I was 20, because I didn't want to be alone. And I've always I'm always in relationships for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, I think
But I'm really bad in relationships too. I always cheat on everyone.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
bad.
well. Do you think maybe you're cheating on people because you know you got into the relationship for the wrong reason, and it's easier to kind of tear it down a little bit than?
I know, maybe it's form of self-sabotage, possibly.
I mean, because it doesn't take. Look, I don't know anything. Straight up hashtag not a doctor. But if that sense of security that you get from being with your grandfather, who I'm guessing you have a good relationship with him.
I did, yeah, I did.
So it's you lose something like that early on in life. Well, that's devastating. It's just you're kind of being raised in a non-traditional situation where, your grandparents are the folks that are looking after you. And, then you must have lost something to get to that point. And then when you lose your grandfather, you lose something else. So having a fear of being alone, not necessarily a giant surprise given something that happens to a 16-year-old. He passed when you were 16 years old?
Mm-hmm, yeah, and they were basically, my grandparents were my parents, so losing my grandfather was like losing, your dad. And, and then I was taking care of my grandmother, and she died when I was 23, and she had Parkinson's disease, and it was just hard. I was taking care of my mom and my grandmother from 16 on.
So you probably, A, you don't want to be alone. B, you wound up in this weird situation where as a child, you were the parent, you were the caretaker, you were the person that had to look after everyone else. So you probably have maybe on a subconscious or conscious level, a burning desire to have someone just be oh, can't somebody else look after something in my life?
Yeah.
Just once. Can somebody else handle it? Whatever it is, I would love to be able to feel like someone's got it. That's not me.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's very true. That's exactly how I feel.
And then maybe you kind of get into the relationship because you want to be with someone. You want somebody to look after things. You're seeking that. And then when it turns out that those are the reasons you're in it, it all kind of falls apart. And you go, well, this is terrible. I need to get out of this. Therefore, I'm going to cheat on someone to get moving into a new direction as quickly as possible. That's the most expedient way to get out of the situation that I was in.
Yeah, exactly. So true.
Do you wind up having to spend a lot of time talking about this sort of stuff when you've been to rehab and whatnot?
Yeah, we talk about this a lot in rehab, and I mean, I'm just kind of mad at myself. When I went to rehab this last time, because I met the guy in rehab, I don't know if I got as much out of it as I should have. Because it's funny, my friends who I called from rehab said the first 2 days I was I hate it here, and then all I did was talk about this guy Zach the whole time, and yeah, I don't know. I'm seriously debating going back to rehab again. But I also think I want to go back to rehab just because I feel safe there. And I don't know if that's the best decision to go back for that reason, just because I don't want to be alone,
I don't. Doesn't that stuff kind of add up? Isn't rehab unbelievably expensive?
Yeah. It was his promises is $64,000, but my insurance paid for half, and then they gave me a really good deal.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, I guess, maybe it goes back to you feel safe there because what do you have there? You got a bunch of people looking after you and caring for your well-being. It's that sense of security that you've been missing in your life since you're maybe for all of it, but definitely since you were 16 and your grandfather passed away.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, Funkhauser, I got no way of getting out of this. This has gotten very, very interesting. And first and foremost, let me say, Mary, thank you. I don't know how it happened. I don't know how we wound up going there with this stuff. But thank you for being a part of it.
I'll have to come back on a day when I'm not hungover, so I'll be more in a happy mood.
It's very interesting when you're hungover. I never want to encourage you to drink. You've said yourself you shouldn't be drinking. I think, Funkhauser, do you think Mary should be drinking?
No.
Yeah, so like I think we can all agree that you shouldn't be drinking. But
I love
you are
Mary in
very
all
interesting
forms,
when you're
though.
hungover.
Yeah, no, drunk Mary, it's just crazy.
It's probably
How's drunk Mary gonna vote?
Do you know yet?
No, I really don't know, and I'm really, I don't know. It's so hard because, like, Bill Clinton was one of my favorite presidents, but I don't really like Hillary. But I don't really like Trump. But I feel like Trump might be better than Hillary.
It's it's one of these things where it is idiocracy, and
Yes,
we are
it really
almost
is.
out of options. Thank you so much, Mary
Thank
Carey.
you so much for having me.
I hope you come back over and over again. This was
Yes, I
awesome.
will,
Thank you.
for sure.
You've been awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
You know how a lot of times you feel like it's cool to turn the other cheek and give people the benefit of the doubt even when they don't deserve it. And sometimes you feel good about yourself for being a better person and doing that. Well, this is not one of those times. I don't think you realize what's on my mind. I've been too nice for way too long.